Even though people understand they can't really make people change, I meet a lot of people who are frustrated when they realize just how true this is. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Our question today is, why won't my partner change? Getting people to change in a relationship is something that we all struggle with. It's incredibly frustrating. So if you feel that frustration, let me just remind you that you're not alone here. Let me start off by just giving you 5 quick reasons why people don't change. The first reason is they don't see it. They don't know what you're talking about. They have no idea what you're saying. The second reason is they might see it, but they don't want to admit it to you. They really don't want to see what you see. The third reason is they do see what you see, but they're not ready. They don't want to make the change yet. Now, the fourth reason is really frustrating because they see what you see, they say they want to change, they start to implement change, but they haven't been able to do it on a permanent basis. In other words, they say they want to change, but they haven't figured out how to make it something that's long-lasting. Now, let me give you the last reason here because this is the contents of our work today. They see the problem, they want to change, they've tried multiple times, they've been unsuccessful. You're still having conversations about it, you're now frustrated, you keep pointing it out, you're nagging about it, they say they want to change, and you're in this vicious cycle of talking the problem to death. And now, every time you bring it up, it just goes sideways quick. Well, if you find yourself here, again, this is not something that's uncommon. Relationships die often because someone is trying to force their partner to change where they feel stuck or helpless. Now, let me say a few things about that. First of all, I believe in learned helplessness. Great book, by the way. It's a thing. People get to the point where they really convince themselves that they are not going to be able to make a change here. And so they become so dependent upon others, they've convinced themselves that they can't do this. I also believe, however, in heroic acts of courage. I believe in great inspirational stories. I've heard many of them. People who have overcome insurmountable odds and have changed their lives and even inspired others to do the same. I also believe that anyone can become better friendship or relationship material if they want to. And so maybe the reason why you're here is I believe this, and I don't know if you do, but I hope you do. I believe that if you are with someone who does not want to change, I believe that you have options. All right? So let me just share some of those with you, and the first one is the most important. And if you don't acknowledge this first one, then the rest really doesn't matter. The first suggestion I would give to you is to stop caring about whether or not your partner changes. Let that sink in. Like, stop caring. Stop trying to make them change. Stop asking, demanding, hoping, imploring, praying, believing, talking to them about change. Like, stop it all now. Because this is not about sour grapes and throwing in the towel. This is about energy conservation. You have energy here that is not being well invested. You're frustrating your partner. You're frustrating yourself. Stop trying to make your partner change. I like what Rory Vaden says here. Diluted focus yields diluted results. So with your newfound energy, because after the burden of trying to make someone else change is no longer yours, you can now turn your attention toward you. You can make you change because you don't have to wait for someone else's permission, approval, or willingness. You can make change. Now, I'm not trying to be dismissive here, and I hope this is already being helpful to you. Maybe you need somebody to give you permission. I had someone ask me earlier today, how do I help my friend? And I wasn't being flippant, but I said, stop trying to be their therapist. Be their friend. Encourage them to get help. You know, there's a line that you can cross as a friend where you're trying to offer more help to someone that is not really in your wheelhouse, and you end up crossing all kinds of your personal boundaries, and you're not helping them, and you're frustrating you, and you're draining your efforts. So with the newfound efforts that you have and energy to conserve, you can turn that now towards yourself, and you can help your partner by inspiring them by making change in you. All right, here's a good question. You ready for this? What's the hardest change you can imagine in your life right now? What's the hardest thing you can imagine? Like, if I made this change, this would be so Like this is big. This is huge. Is it an addiction? Is it a physical appearance thing? Is it a broken family relationship, a financial decision, someone at work, your boss? What's the hardest decision that you can make in your life? All right. And if you need to pause the video and think about that, do that. Come up with an answer here. Like, what's the hardest thing you could do that you're like, I don't know if I can do that. You got an answer? Maybe you need to start something good. Maybe you need to stop something bad. Maybe you need to initiate some hard things in your life. So go ahead and imagine what is the hardest change that you can make. All right, now, you got that in mind? Now I want you to imagine a different kind of change. Not as intimidating, not as huge as the one you were just considering. In fact, I want you to make a list of lesser changes, not as difficult as the one that you were just thinking about, but things that if you made an effort here, or if you made efforts here, that these would change your life. And so then the question I have for you is, if these changes would benefit you, these difficult, not the hardest, but difficult changes, then why have you not addressed them yet? And I'll tell you why. Perhaps it's the same reasons that your partner's not changing. Perhaps you don't see the need, or you don't want to, or you want to, but you're not sure how. Or you've tried and you've been unsuccessful multiple times and you're in this loop, and now your partner brings it up, and maybe they're the one frustrating you, asking you to change. And I have a lot of compassion here because, listen, human beings, we struggle with change. And we all need each other to help get past those reasons why. Let me just give you an example here. If you want honeybees, then you have to create a culture where bees can make honey. I know that sounds so simple. I have a client that keeps bees, and he's brought me honey at times, and it's fantastic honey. Local honey's the best, by the way. If you want to keep bees, if you want to have honey, then you have to create a culture where they are welcome and that they can do their job. You can't make honey. That's not your wheelhouse. So you have to create a culture. Here's the principle. If you build a culture of change in your home, in your relationship, in your workplace, you will do the greatest thing that you can do to produce change in others. And producing a culture of change involves small, doable, consistent change in your life so that others can see the changes in you. Now, you may be asking, like, what if my partner takes advantage of this culture of change? I mean, it's a valid question, and it's certainly something to be addressed. But let me address it first of all. So what if your partner sees you changing and starts to take advantage of that and says, yay, you, and then they just kind of ride that pony for a while? My first observation is this. First of all, the comparison game does not help anyone. I know it's a human thing, but it's not a helpful thing. The comparison game, nobody wins. And you don't have the full perspective anyway on other people's lives and other people's experiences and pains. Second of all, the best motivation for personal change is not to get someone else's attention. It's not to get someone else's approval, because sometimes attention is not the kind of attention that you want. You might get jealousy, criticism, ridicule, resentment. You might get apathy. Like, you might work your tail off for someone to say, whatever. That is not a consistent motivator. It's not helpful. This is why the attention of others is not a good motivator for change, because you can't control that. So what is the best motivator? Here's what I believe. I believe the best motivator for personal change is to become the best version of you that you can possibly become. I heard somebody once say, nobody can repossess your education. Nobody can steal away your intrinsic motivators. I've talked about that in other videos. It's really other people in the self-improvement space have been talking about this for a long time. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivators. Extrinsic is stuff on the outside that other people have the power. Intrinsic is something from yourself. Like, how do you think somebody gets to the Olympic level? It's not the approval of an audience. It's not the approval of a coach. You have to have an intrinsic motivator that keeps you becoming the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And it comes with a lot of perks. It comes with wisdom and lowered anxiety and higher confidence levels and better and more happier and healthier and better relationships. You know, I've heard this said, and I believe this to be true. Money does not make people happier, but meaningful change does. Meaningful personal change brings happier states of mind. So the best motivation has to be you becoming the best and most fulfilling version of yourself. Now, Here's another thing I want you to consider when it comes to internal motivators. It's an argument from silence for you to say that your partner is not going to be inspired by your personal change. If you've not taken a year and put yourself in a platform, a place of change, at least for 1 year, then you're arguing from silence to say that your partner is not going to be inspired by that. I'm not kidding. Like, you want your partner to change? Make a plan for 1 year for you to address some of the very things that you've already thought about in this video, and put them on some kind of a personal improvement plan. They call that in the business world a PIP. It's a plan that basically it's often a predicate to being terminated, but what the whole idea behind it is that it's a way for you to address specific issues or discrepancies in your work or in your job role that need to be improved. Otherwise, you're not going to continue working there. Well, use that for your own benefit. You can research it, look it up, hire a coach, therapist, somebody to help you through it. Put yourself on a personal improvement plan. Now, maybe I could do another video on that particular idea, but I'll tell you kind of what I do with my clients when I sit down with them and they want to just look at their life and then put themselves in a better place and make some specific changes. So we take this matrix, and on the left-hand side, you've got physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And across the top, you've got 30, 60, 90. So you take physical. This is what I want to accomplish on a physical level in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and same thing with mental, 30, 60, 90. And you kind of just broadcast that, and then you start to reduce that into bite-sized chunks that you can take a look at on a daily and a weekly basis. And you create this personal improvement plan for the first 90 days that gets you moving forward. It gets your momentum and targets very specific areas. Like, you're not just aiming at a target, you're aiming at a bullseye here. And you break that down, you create what's called habit stacking. Fantastic book. Tiny Habits, another fantastic book. You start small, simple change where the energy is in you. And you're the motivator. And the best version of you is the product. That's the result that you're going to get from this. And trust me, it works. Stay on that path. Now listen, what started out here was, why won't my partner change, has turned into, how can I begin to make some small changes in my life? If you build a culture of change in your life, you will attract those kinds of people in yours. And you'll attract the kind of people that want to help you become the better version of yourself. And then the people who don't want to become a better version will become painfully obvious. I wouldn't pretend to tell you what to do with that. That's another step. But until you have gotten to that place, you won't be able to answer that question. It's an argument from silence to say that your partner doesn't want to change if you haven't demonstrated that on a personal level for at least a year. Now, I know that's hard-hitting, but that's the brass tacks of helping people, is to first help yourself be the best version of yourself that you can be. There's tools and resources out there to do it. I hope this channel is one of those places for you. If you find it to be helpful, share, like, subscribe. If you do that, you might be a source of encouragement to someone else. We want to keep putting great content out there for you guys and help encourage people, because I meet people every day who are just struggling, and we want to be that source of encouragement to you. Oh, another thing, if you would like to be included in the daily devotional, I've been doing this now a couple of months. Some of my clients asked me to start with this, and the list is growing. I send out a Bible-based spiritual devotional every single morning about 6 a.m. every day. And if you just email tricordcounseling@gmail.com with the subject line daily devotional, we would be happy to add you to that list and just send that out to you. So it's a scripture and then several thoughts and paragraphs to help motivate you to start your day. Listen, change is inevitable, but good change is intentional. And I really hope to partner with you in making productive change in your life. So I'll see you next time. And until then, be intentional and make it count.